Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about anxiety because it is so prevalent today in our society, especially among young adults and adolescents. And I thought it would be a good time to discuss that because older people have anxiety as well. Even though the CDC says that it declines as we get older, that has not been my experience personally and with people that I know. I think as we get older, we have different kinds of anxiety. When we're younger, we're more worried about social situations or school, due dates, things like that. And as we get older, we're dealing with different issues. I think we can have a lot of anxiety about the different issues that we're dealing with as we get older. For example, we might be dealing with a chronic health issue or the loss of a spouse or partner, the loss of a friend, financial worries, family stress. All of these things can create anxiety as we age. I personally have suffered with anxiety and some mild depression for most of my life, for as long as I can remember. And I'm pretty sure this stems from some events that happened in childhood, and I think part of it might also be genetic. I'm not opposed to therapy. I was in group therapy for years. I've been in and out of therapy a few times in my life, and I really think that the group therapy is most helpful. That or like a 12-step group, something like that. I do think therapy can be helpful, but if you're just going to go weekly and talk about your issues all the time or what might be causing your anxiety, and the therapist is not really offering any concrete things to do or change, then I don't think that's very helpful. While I personally focus on more holistic solutions, I know that some people do require medication. However, there's always side effects to the medication, and I'm certainly not recommending that anyone get on medication or get off of medication. You would have to make that decision with your provider. I'm just going to offer some more holistic solutions in this video that have helped me out quite a bit. Even if you're on medication and even if it's working for you, the things that I'm going to suggest can still have a positive impact on your life. First, sometimes anxiety can be caused by nutritional deficiencies. Eating too much sugar, junk food, fast food, and not having a nutritionally dense diet can lead to nutritional deficiencies which cause anxiety. The most common vitamins and minerals that are depleted are B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, omega-3s, selenium, zinc, antioxidants, and iron. So it's important to eat a well-balanced, nutrient-dense diet. I personally recommend the Mediterranean diet, and then also supplement where needed with professional-grade supplements. Poor gut health can also cause anxiety. There is definitely a gut connection to the brain, and it's important to keep that balanced. You can take probiotics, or you can eat some dairy-free, sugar-free yogurt. I'm personally dairy-free. I don't think anybody should be having dairy. I'm speaking as a nutritionist. That's just my opinion, but if you insist on having dairy, then at least get like a Greek yogurt with very little sugar in it. That can help with probiotics, as well as eating some raw fermented sauerkraut. It's not the kind that you heat up. It's going to come in a jar or a plastic bag. I personally prefer the jar variety, and that has a good amount of probiotics in there. Hormonal imbalances can also cause anxiety, and I would suggest speaking with your medical provider about that. The problem is a lot of doctors aren't going to prescribe any hormones once you're past a certain age, and I do think hormones are very necessary. That's a separate conversation. So I do recommend finding a functional medicine provider who might be willing to work with you in this area. And I'm going to link in the description box below how to find a functional medicine provider in your area. Keep in mind that most functional medicine providers do not accept insurance, so it would be an out-of-pocket cost. Another cause of anxiety can be isolation and lack of connection. I experience this quite a bit. While I am an introvert, I do work remotely, and I live alone, and so I'm by myself a lot. And when I was younger, I used to try to avoid social interactions, but as I get older, I really crave that connection of other people. And I don't know how much of that has to do with me just being by myself all day, or as we get older, I think we do tend to crave more connection with each other. Also, I think when we're younger, we're more focused and worried about what other people are thinking. And by this age, we don't care. We just want to hang out with people and have fun. At least that's my experience. Lack of restorative sleep can also cause anxiety or make it worse. If you do not sleep well, please work with your provider to get to the root cause of that. And also work on your sleep hygiene. You may want to get a mask and blackout curtains so it's perfectly dark when you sleep. I have personally found a white noise machine that is nothing short of miraculous for me. It has helped me so much with my sleep. Or you might be able to take some supplements to help you relax, maybe some melatonin. I find that getting out in nature helps me the most. I do try to get out and walk every day. I was going to record this video outside, but it's cold and windy today, so I decided not to go out. And I'm really missing that walk today. Just being out in nature really helps. And honestly, sometimes when I'm walking, I'm feeling sad or anxious, and sometimes I cry. And by the end of the walk, I definitely feel better. I also don't listen to music when I walk, just because it takes me out of the present moment. And I find that a song can bring me back to the past, or I don't know, it really can have an effect on my emotions. So I just like to hear the sounds of nature, and I want to stay in the present moment. So I don't listen to music when I walk. That's not to say that you can't if you prefer doing that. But for me, it just doesn't work as well. Many years ago, I read a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, and that was so helpful to me. And I might just reread that because I think it's a good reminder to really stay focused in the present moment, especially if we're having an anxiety attack. Also, yoga and Tai Chi can be really helpful for anxiety because you're really focusing on what you're doing and you're in the present moment, and it's somewhat of a meditative practice. And as far as meditation goes, I really have found, for me, I cannot meditate in the traditional sense of the word, meaning trying to clear my mind. I know that's a big complaint among many people. I just can't do it. So what I do, though, is I listen to some visualization meditations. You can Google these on YouTube. I do one with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I spend about 10 or 15 minutes to this relaxing music, visualizing what I want my life to look like. And the most important part of this exercise is that you really get into feeling the emotions. Feel it as if it's happening right now. That's a really good visualization exercise to do. And you don't need music, you can just do that. Sometimes it's hard to get in that headspace, especially if you're anxious. What I do is I try to do it first thing in the morning when I wake up. I do generally wake up with anxiety, and it kind of peaks in the morning hours. But before I get up, and I get up very early, I will spend 10 to 15 minutes visualizing. And that seems to really help offset the anxiety and kind of sets the tone for the day. Sometimes feeling a lack of purpose can create some anxiety. I know that has happened to me. The kids are grown, and it's kind of like, what am I supposed to do now? And even with my job, which is stressful, I still sometimes feel a lack of purpose. And I think volunteering would really help with that. I look forward to when I can volunteer more. Right now, my job just keeps me too busy, but I think that's a win-win situation because you're helping other people, and I really do think it helps with your anxiety. Another idea is having a pet. I know pets can really be good company and alleviate a lot of anxiety and depression. I've always had dogs, and after my divorce many years ago, I moved into an apartment, and it just became too expensive to have a pet. And also, there are things to deal with, like getting them out for a walk and the barking, and you have neighbors close by. So I have just elected not to have a pet right now. I like to be free to come and go without worrying about having to board a dog or have someone watch them. That's just an expense and a stress that I don't want at the moment. But I know that they really can be very helpful in alleviating anxiety and depression. Years ago, when I lived in Cincinnati, I would frequently go to the Cincinnati Zoo. And if you have never been, it's a fabulous zoo. It's one of the top in the country. And I found it to be so healing. Just being outside and in nature and seeing all the animals really had a calming effect on me. And I really miss that. So if you live near a nice zoo or an aquarium, I recommend visiting there. And it really is helpful. Some people find aromatherapy helpful with essential oils and deep breathing and journaling. And while I've tried those things and I think they're great, I just don't really have time in my day for those. But if they work for you, then definitely prioritize those and just do whatever works for you. And another suggestion is if you have a hobby like knitting or crocheting, maybe find a group to do that with. I know that I live near a little yarn shop where they have some ladies get together weekly and they sit in a group and they just chit chat and do their stitching or whatever it is they're working on. And that's kind of a way to have company and socialize and also alleviate some anxiety. There are days when I don't have anxiety, and I am really thankful on those days, and I feel really good. But on the days that I do, which is more often than not, I do one or several of the things that I've mentioned in this video. I just find them to be really helpful, and I just really recommend taking action with one of those things rather than trying to just suffer through it. Years ago, I used to almost say no to everything because I didn't want to go out, and I really valued my alone time. And, I was a very busy young mom, but now that I'm older and spend more alone time, I try to say yes to almost everything. And by that, I don't mean, I'm not including dating in that or anything that's not really safe, or I'm just talking about if somebody invites me to lunch or to play pickleball or, something like that, I will always try to say yes. Another thing that really helps me is that I don't watch the news. And this might be controversial because I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now. But years ago, I had a therapist who recommended that I stopped watching the news. And I did. And it worked so well that I've never gone back to it. I do keep up with news headlines, but I don't engage with the people on TV. There's the music, and they're trying to instill fear in you. That creates enormous anxiety for me, and I really just can't handle it. So I read the news headlines. I am very aware of what's going on in the world, and I pay attention to what I need to. Now, the only exceptions to this were during 9/11 and the pandemic. And I had the news on a lot because, we were in an unknown situation both of those times, and just trying to keep up. But for the most part, I rarely watch the news on TV or the computer. I just read the news headlines and read articles that I want to educate myself on, and I just move on, and it helps a lot for me. And that doesn't mean that I don't care about what's going on in the world, because I absolutely do. It just means that I am prioritizing my mental health. So if any of you suffer with anxiety and or depression, please let me know in the comments what you do to help yourself. And I just want everybody to know that you're not alone. I think a lot of people are feeling it and maybe don't want to admit it. So just know that you're not alone. And if this video resonates at all with you, please like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.